Hello and welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headline to the Thames Valley. Claims the spiralling cost of accommodation is causing a homelessness crisis among students. How the University of Reading is helping those who need it.
From conflict to peace, the stories of the end of the Second World War told at a new exhibition in Oxfordshire. Also on the programme.
Tell me what you hate about maps. Is it really boring from the front to the back? Examples just whack in a language you don't understand.
The rapping dad's trying to subtract the fear from maths.
Good evening. There are claims we are facing a hidden homelessness crisis among students, with as many as 1 in 14 experiencing a long period without a place to call home.
An annual housing survey involving thousands of university students suggests spiralling accommodation costs are often outstripping maintenance loans. Almost 2/3 of those polled said they had struggled to afford rental charges, as Nick Smith reports.
For many students, university is their first experience of life away from the family home. But that initial taste of freedom is now met by a harsh reality of a national housing crisis. For those who struggle to afford their rent or face a real prospect of eviction, students' unions like this one at the University of Reading can be a first port of call to offer help.
We can provide students with the best advice of housing that we can, one of which being the UK rent guarantors. Some people might not have a guarantor of their own when they come to uni, and that means that they can't necessarily get a house. So the university works with Housing Hand, which provides these people with a guarantor of their own.
The average monthly rent for a student in the South East is now at £644, the highest rate outside of London. For international students, that amount can be far higher. They often struggle to rent off campus in private housing due to the nature of their visa. One international student wanted to speak to me anonymously as she doesn't want her family to know she is struggling, but is facing the real prospect of abandoning her degree due to housing problems.
I am struggling to pay my rent because the rent has gone up a lot and I do not earn that much. I am 2 terms behind my payments. It's devastating. I'm not able to focus on my studies completely because if I'm not able to live properly, it's difficult for me to actually focus on my studies.
Do you find a lot of other international students are in a similar situation because they're facing kind of extra pressures?
I have seen students struggling to pay for rent and landlords actually kicking them out of the house, and they are spending their times on streets. When you are struck with so much difficulties from all the ends, you just feel like giving up and going back home.
The group Save the Student conducted this latest study in accommodation experiences, and one of their finance experts says for many years the living costs alone hasn't kept pace with inflation.
7% of students have told us they've experienced homelessness at some point during their university degree. Now, homelessness can take many forms, so it's not just rough sleeping. It can also be things like sofa surfing and staying in temporary accommodation. There will be students who are deciding, well, I can't afford to, or I can't find the availability of housing near my university, so I will have to make that choice to miss out on some aspects of the university experience.
A government spokesperson told us the maximum loan will rise by 3.1% from September, in line with inflation, and they'll offer the largest amount of support to students from low-income families. The upcoming Renters' Rights Bill may also ease some of the issues around hiking charges. But for those at risk of immediate eviction, they may have no choice but to delay, defer, or even abandon their studies altogether. Nick Smith, ITV News.
An MP has told Parliament that more needs to be done to tackle fly tipping in rural Buckinghamshire. Illegal dumping of rubbish and building materials was raised in the House of Commons earlier after these photos were shared by constituents of the Aylesbury MP Laura Kirk-Smith.
I've been working with Thames Valley Police who are increasing patrols in affected areas like Slapton and Ivinghoe-Aston, but it's not enough, and one resident says to me it's beyond a joke. Does the leader agree with me that we have to do more to tackle fly tipping, and in particular, will she make space to debate tougher sanctions for those who continue to spoil our countryside and our villages in this way?
Well, we are absolutely committed to forcing fly tippers and vandals to clean up the mess that they have created.
The Rabble Theatre Group in Reading has been given exclusive access to perform inside Reading Jail. The first time the prison will have opened its doors to the public since it was sold. Well, in January, the group was awarded £30,000 from Arts Council England for an ambitious play about William the Conqueror. Well, its members will perform a piece about the process behind the play in June, with audiences taken through the prison's Victorian chapel.
Now, it's been 80 years since the Allied forces in Europe and Japan celebrated victory and the end of the Second World War, and a new exhibition has opened in Oxfordshire to commemorate the county's experiences throughout 1945.
Yes, called From Conflict to Peace, organisers at the Soldiers of Oxfordshire Museum in Woodstock say they want to tell the stories of people serving in the armed forces at that pivotal moment in history. With more on this, here's Kieran Fitzpatrick.
Here at the Soldiers of Oxfordshire Museum, a new exhibit focuses on the vital role the county's armed forces played in bringing peace to Europe. For example, we hear all about the celebrations on VE Day itself at the time, but also accounts from the Oxfordshire and Buckinghamshire's light infantry and how they were involved in many of the key campaigns that brought peace to Europe in 1945. Well, I'm delighted to say Lieutenant Colonel Ingram Murray is here to tell us more about all of this. Now, you have a wealth of knowledge in this area, but what is this? Tell me more about this glider, because it's very vital, isn't it?
This is the Horsa glider. It's the means by which the 2nd Battalion of the Ox and Bucks Light Infantry went to war. It took 28 men, or a jeep and a gun, and with it they landed on D-Day, most famously at Pegasus Bridge, which they seized in 20 minutes in the middle of the night.
Now, in this part of the exhibit, there really is something truly special. Jay Hawkins has been travelling the length and breadth of the country, speaking to 200 Second World War veterans, but most importantly, collecting their signatures on this, a Lee Enfield rifle. I'm delighted to say Jay is here to talk more about this. This is a truly special project. What got you involved with it?
About 4 years ago, I wanted to sort of play my part in history and try and capture the war stories of, the UK's last World War II veterans, and I thought this would be a good start and a good project.
And as we hit the 80th anniversary in a month's time, how important are these sorts of exhibitions in keeping their memories alive?
I think more now than ever, in the next 4 to 5 years, there's not going to be any World War II veterans left. So if a man, woman, child can read their story and see their name, then it makes sure their stories aren't forgotten.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us. This truly is a magnificent piece of work. This and everything else in the exhibition is here until the 18th of November, so plenty of time to see the county's rich and diverse role in bringing peace to Europe.
And that was Kieran Fitzpatrick reporting. Quite something to think it was 80 years ago.
Yeah, no,
but we really need places
Yes.
like that to keep those memories alive, because if not, we are just going to forget them, and we mustn't forget that at all. Well, you are watching ITV News Meridian in the Thames Valley. Lots more to come. And you'll also be finding out why a group of dads turn to rap music to help their children learn.
And there has been some sunshine across the region through today. Is there more of that to come, though? I'll have all the details coming up a little bit later on.
More from us, of course, online. All the details you need to get in touch are on the screen. The website is there, our phone number, and of course you can always follow us on social media. Now, tributes have been paid to one of the UK's oldest drag artists, whose funeral has taken place in Brighton. David Raven, who was known to audiences as Maisie Trolette, died at the age of 91 last month.
Well, Maisie rose to fame in the 1960s, entertaining audiences for decades. Tom Savidis has her story.
One final journey past many of the bars and clubs he used to perform in. The funeral procession of David Raven, known as drag artist Maisie Trolette, makes its way up St James's Street in Brighton. David passed away last month at the age of 91 after a long and colourful life and career. Hundreds of people packed St Mary's Church in Kemp Town, where David's coffin entered to a song by Actually Gay Men's Chorus.
come here today to remember before God our brother David, to give thanks for his life.
Another bow.
David was performing on stage up until 2 years before his death.
Sang another song. Oh,
It's believed he was the UK's oldest drag artist.
This is an American dress, you know.
Yes, I can tell.
I think he's going to remain in my heart forever as an imp, and I will miss him. I've never seen such love and respect for an artist in my lifetime.
Today's service at St Mary's Church in the heart of Kemp Town was a reflection of David Raven's colourful life. There was laughter, there were tears, but there were also cheers as mourners remembered his performances as Maisie Trillette.
As long as he needs me.
Good memories, good fun, and a life. What a life. 91, for goodness sakes. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Joyous man.
He was the most amazing entertainer, but he was also such a champion for the gay community, and he did such a lot for AIDS, for patients with AIDS.
Mourners were asked to wear bright clothes to reflect his colourful life.
Your public awaits you, Mr. Trillette.
Tom Savidas, ITV News, Brighton.
How lovely, he was well loved. Now, MPs from Wiltshire, Oxfordshire and Sussex have raised concerns about the damaging impact American tariffs could have on the British car industry.
Well, a 25% import tax on all vehicles shipped to the United States came into force overnight.
We're live now to Westminster and our political correspondent, Kit Bradshaw. Kit, what does it mean for our region's car firms?
Well, Amanda, it means every Mini Cooper or Rolls-Royce Phantom currently on a ship across the Atlantic will face a 25% import tax when it rolls onto US soil. At a stroke, President Trump has made British cars far less competitive, and the worries of Mini workers in Oxford were raised by the local MP Annalisa Dodds in the House of Commons. I spoke to the Swindon MP because there is also a smaller Mini factory there, and I asked him what the workers would be feeling tonight.
I think they'll be concerned. At this point, there is no announcements of closure or loss of jobs. I engage with BMW regularly. I had a meeting with them on Friday. I will continue to engage with them as a local MP and try to make sure we can work through this tricky time.
In West Sussex, there's also the Rolls-Royce factory at Goodwood. Now, 1 in 5 Rolls-Royce models made there are currently bought by American customers. The local Lib Dem MP, Jess Brown-Fuller, told me that they will inevitably be hit hard. Now, BMW, which owns Rolls-Royce and Mini, said in a statement that we should be discussing reducing trade barriers rather than creating more. The BMW group, the statement went on, remains committed to reducing tariffs and trade barriers between Europe and the USA, which would benefit consumers in both regions.
Now, some are calling this a global trade war, Kit. What is the British government's next move?
Well, no immediate retaliation like some countries. Ministers are consulting with businesses. Here's the advice of one Hampshire MP.
Tariffs are always and everywhere a diminution of the choice available to consumers. So it isn't Liberation Day, it's the very antithesis. And I hope he will bear that in mind as he considers the policy and the consultation on any retaliatory action.
Well, the Business Secretary, Jonathan Reynolds, said in reply that he was particularly concerned about the impact on the automotive industry, concerns undoubtedly shared by thousands of car factory workers across the south tonight.
Yes, indeed. Kit, as always, thank you.
Now, there's a big argument going on between writers and companies developing artificial intelligence. The writers claim their work is being exploited without their permission.
Well, today, a group of authors protested outside the UK headquarters of Meta, the company that owns Facebook, claiming it had used their work without paying to help train its AI. Well, Meta denies this, instead saying fair use of copyrighted materials is vital to improve its Gen AI. With more, Chris Conway.
They say the pen is mightier than the sword. Meta. But these authors have stepped away from writing to protest today, in the hope of bringing to an end a chapter that could be straight out of a science fiction novel.
The very data they're using, taking from us, they will have AI then generate novels that will then put us out of business.
The group claims that Meta, which owns Facebook, Instagram and WhatsApp, has used copyrighted books from an online database to train its artificial intelligence program without paying the authors for the privilege.
I used to think that that what I did in my brain was unique, and now I'm being told actually we're just going to take what was in your brain and create some Tracy Chevalier-like novels, and we can bypass you. So I will probably be out of a job, and I'm very worried about that.
The authors protesting here today say this is their David and Goliath moment. Individual writers coming together to battle big tech. And they say they're not alone, with authors from across the country standing with them in solidarity.
Abby Longstaff is a children's author from Brighton.
It's a huge issue for authors because we don't earn very much. So if you take away one of the avenues of us making our living, we're really going to struggle. And I know a lot of author friends who've had to give up or get other jobs, and we're going to lose creative people if we don't back them.
Experts in AI have pointed out that the technology has the potential to benefit all humankind, but to do so it needs access to books to help it learn.
If we harness the power of AI for good, the good side, for example, improving the diagnosis of healthcare, help the education, it also can help us discover new solutions and scientific thoughts, ideas.
However, the Society of Authors disagrees and is calling on the government to hold tech companies to account.
We need government to absolutely enforce the copyright laws which are already in place. Various organisations across the industry have facilities in order for authors to get paid, in order for this work to be recognised. All those mechanisms are in place. The copyright law is in place, and we need government to enforce that.
The authors gathered outside Meta today say they're fighting to protect an industry built by the creativity of individuals, something they insist artificial intelligence will never truly understand. Chris Conway, ITV News.
Well, in a statement, Meta says we respect third-party intellectual property rights and believe our use of information to train AI models is consistent with existing law. Meanwhile, the government says it's working to create a solution to allow AI models lawful access to material while ensuring rights holders get paid.
In sport, the Football League has given Reading owner Dai Yong more time to sell the club. Fans have been protesting against him for several years, and the EFL had originally said he had until this Saturday to quit. That deadline's been moved until April the 22nd. Now, it's a subject many children struggle with at school, but there's no doubt that mastering maths is an important life skill.
Well, campaigners in Sussex have come up with a rather unusual way of inspiring students, as Malcolm Shaw reports.
Question. Tell me what you hate about maths. Is it really boring from the front to the back? Examples just whack in a language you don't understand. Sine cos tan, what's that? I get ya.
Of all the subjects taught at school, maths is often the one that children find most tricky and parents find the hardest to help with. Now the power of rap music has been harnessed to try to change that. This track, called Dads, Sums and Drums, has been created by the Sussex-based organisation Dad La Soul alongside West Sussex County Council.
I'm in my 50s now. The way I learnt maths, the best way was things like Sesame Street, you know, putting subjects to music. So that's all we're doing. We just updated the idea and just made a really banging garage anthem.
The video brought together 70 families with local schools, businesses and community groups. It was officially launched at a special event in Worthing, where stars of the rap track were among the performers.
This just seemed like a really cool way to reach the kids and to get maths out there and saying it's cool to understand maths and it will help you in your career.
I've seen people completely fold when they ask a question about numbers and arithmetic and stuff, and they've got to do it mentally, and it's one of those things that really does hurt. I know I still do, but I'm now not as fearful, and that's one of the things, as a father, I try and pass on to my son.
By 10, put a note on the end. These are the tricks that'll help you, my friend.
The video will be released on social media and also used in nursery and primary schools, carefully calculated to subtract the fear of maths and add a catchy riff or two. Malcolm Shaw, ITV News, Worthing.
There's lots of them involved. I mean, anything to get kids comfortable with it.
It's a brilliant idea, very good idea. I should wrap into the weather, but instead I just say it's Chris Page.
Today's forecast: seafood and sugar cube towns. TUI sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Hello there. Very good evening to you. Yes, quite a bit of sunshine to start with this morning. Into this afternoon, there's been a little bit more cloud, and the rain is just flirting with us across the western side of the patch as we go into this evening and overnight. It's fairly light and patchy for most of us. There could be the odd heavy burst here and there for the likes of Dorset, but elsewhere you'll notice higher clouds spilling in as we move through the night, and that just helps to keep temperatures up around about the 11 to 12 degrees Celsius mark. We start first thing tomorrow then. Yes, we've still got that cloud, some light showery rain, but things tending to fizzle out, the cloud eventually melting away to reveal more of that sunshine as we move into the afternoon. Still rather a brisk wind blowing along the south coast, which will make it feel rather chilly here, but otherwise inland tomorrow, temperatures around 21 to 22 degrees Celsius. Some places may even get close to 23 degrees. Well, and if it's the fine, dry and settled weather you're here to enjoy, well, there's more of that to come as we move through the weekend and into next week. We will just start to see something a little bit chillier for a wee while as we go into next week, but there's plenty of fine, dry and sunny weather up for grabs over the coming few days, with no more rain in sight for now. Take care.
TUI sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
And on that positive note, that is it from us for this evening. In a moment, the ITV Evening News with Charlene White.
Have a lovely evening. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.